Hello everyone, and welcome back to Guasto. Today's story is going to be a bit harsh and heavy. Viewer discretion is advised. I ruined my mom's life and reputation. My 40 female parents, dad 63 male and mom 60 female, have been married for 43 years. I have 6 siblings. I've been with my husband, 39 male, since we were 15. I got pregnant at 17 and we moved in with my parents. I gave birth to my now 22-year-old daughter. We got married at 18 shortly after. My dad's father passed shortly after our wedding and left his ranch-style house to my father. My grandparents built a house next door to my parents when they retired. My parents decided to let us live in this house and told us this would be my inheritance. My husband and I had no issues with this. We went on to have a 20 male, 14 female, 5 female, and I'm currently 7 months pregnant with my last child, a boy due in April. I thought I had a good marriage. We were intimate more than twice a week. We went on date nights, we bought each other gifts, we didn't fight. My entire world was shattered on New Year's Eve when I returned early from a girls' trip I had taken with some friends. I walked into my bedroom to find my mom having rapport with my husband. My mother screamed at me to get out of their bedroom, which really shook me up even more. Unfortunately, my oldest daughter was also in a bedroom across the house getting ready for a party. She ran out and witnessed my all but a bedsheet undressed mother run out of her house next door to her house and slam the door. My daughter was devastated and went to my sister's house. I asked her not to say anything until I first talked to my husband. I asked him for the truth. He told me that my mother seduced him when we were 18 and living in their house. They'd been having unprotected rapport at least once a month for longer than we were married. I ran the math and was horrified because the timeline meant that my twin brothers and younger brother could be my husbands. I immediately called my dad and told him to come to my house without my mom. I made my husband confess and my dad was devastated. He and my mom were high school sweethearts too. Needless to say, we could hear my mother screaming from her house when he confronted her. I then told my oldest sister, and she and I decided to throw a party for the whole extended family, and we invited my ex's family as well. At the party, I had my 22 female daughter take all the kids to our basement and put on a movie, leaving only the adult children and siblings, and I told them exactly what they'd been doing. Most of the family is on my side, except my youngest 3 siblings, 38 female sister, ex's entire family. They all say that I'm an AH for dropping this publicly. Word got out, and my mom's best friend, who is on leadership at my mom's church, my childhood church, called me to verify. My mom has since then let go as a children's pastor there, and she claims I have essentially ruined her reputation and life. My dad kicked her out, and now she's living with my 38 female sister. And lastly, my dad insisted on a DNA test for the 3 youngest boys before he even considered anything to do with their marriage. The twins are my husband's bio children. I've since kicked him out and he's living with his parents. My father and I are discussing me moving into his much larger house and him selling my grandfather's house and him giving me the money to buy a new house somewhere else to get rid of the memories. My husband is appalled and furious that I proved he actually is about to have 7 kids instead of 5. That I'm going to be taking half of his business away from him. My husband started his own HVAC company a few years back. And for the first 5 years, I helped him get it set up, run the office completely, and took time away from my teaching career to help him get this established. In my state, all marital assets, including businesses, are split 50-50. Since the house was still in my father's name, my husband will get no money from the sale, neither will my mother, since inherited assets are not subject to be split in divorces. My mother is also likely not to get any alimony, as our state is not a no-fault divorce state. I'm now over a month removed, still extremely bitter and angry at my mother, especially at her hypocrisy for calling me a naughty girl and shaming my family when she has done much worse. I also despise my ex with everything within me now, as he was doing it with both my mom and me, in some instances coming to our bed minutes later. He got my mother pregnant less than a week after getting me pregnant, and while I thought it was so cute and fun that I shared a pregnancy experience with my mom, She was carrying my children's half-siblings. He has broken all trust I had in men and being faithful. I have already procured a good lawyer from the firm that helped us in financial matters for both me and my dad is helping pay for it. My twin brothers, one of my sisters, and my entire ex's family have gone no contact with me and my minor children. And my children have essentially lost all of their grandparents, but my dad, 2 uncles, and an aunt on my side, and my husband's 3 brothers due to this mess. I've also developed ulcers and digestive issues because of this, so I'm visiting the doctor soon and I've been in therapy since the first week of January. I've offered this for my 2 adult children if they need family therapy with all of us, but they're doing individual therapy right now. My 14-year-old knows that we're getting divorced and why, and she's so angry at her dad that I struggle sending her to his house on the weekends. I feel like she's old enough to make a decision on that, but I don't want to damage a relationship with her dad. I've told all my kids it's okay to love their dad, even if he hurt me, but the oldest 2 have cut him off 100%. I won't tell my youngest 2 until they're teens why we got divorced, and everyone else has agreed not to spill anything until they're old enough to understand. As for how I had no idea this affair was ongoing, my husband confirmed to me that they would have rappos at my mom's office, at church, in their cars, at a motel, and when we built the business, they started having it routinely in his office once I went back to teaching. They also had it in our houses too when my father would go away on business trips or I'd be out of town. It was purely happenstance that I came home a day earlier from the trip because I was uncomfortable from being nearly 7 months pregnant and just wanted my own bed for me to find out. Knowing they'd be carrying on this full-blown affair still, if I hadn't caught them, is what I'm still upset about. The fact that the grandmother and father of my children cared so little about destroying our families is what I can't get past. What's hardest for me is my own mother would do this to me and would continue to do this for years and not caring when it all blew up in her face that she would be destroying her entire family. Edit. Also, to add insult to injury, my husband confirmed in one of our mediated conversations the affair started when I apparently made him angry. He didn't tell me and instead vented to my mother when they were alone. She comforted him and they had different rappos. He loved it and then pursued her after that. He said he would have divorced me, but he knew he'd get cut off from her and she was so much better at being intimate than me. So he stuck it out with me. He told me I was a placeholder. Of all the betrayal and low blows, that statement is what keeps me up at night. Too long didn't read. My mom did it with my husband for 22 years, got pregnant with twins, continued the affair until I caught them in bed together on New Year's Eve while I was nearly 7 months pregnant. I publicly exposed it and my mom lost her job, her marriage, and is homeless. Update. I tried hard to go to the route of mediated divorce, but my ex told me yesterday through his lawyers that he doesn't believe that the baby I'm carrying is his, and he wants a DNA test as soon as he's born because he doesn't want to support a child that isn't his. He also believes I routinely cheated on him through our marriage and that I knew about his ongoing affair and used it as my excuse to have my own affairs. None of that is true, but I kind of wish it was because it would make the divorce easier. My lawyer basically told me to get ready for a long, drawn-out, brutal, congested divorce, and that my ex is likely going to try every underhanded tactic in the book to make my life even more miserable. Second update. So I will answer some questions posed both here and there. My twin brothers look like my wed donor's side of the family. They look very close to my uncle and grandfather. They clearly don't look like my dad at all. But they also don't resemble my husband much either. My son looks like my soon-to-be ex and he's the only child that can visibly tell is his kid, although my 14-year-old daughter has his nose and jaw shape. I was definitely enraged the day everything went down, but my dad talked me off the murder ledge and reminded that I need to think of my baby and my other kids before I do something that would remove both their parents from their lives. This is what spared them. I still lived in a rage fog for the next few days, which is what led to the revenge party. I only regret not telling my brothers privately that my egg donor had been cheating. I honestly don't know all the reasons my 38 female sister is on my egg donor's side. She doesn't get along with me or my sisters and hasn't since high school. I'm not that worried about her. My twin brothers are upset that I sprung the news publicly. That is what my dad has gotten out of them. They're also in therapy, and my dad told me to just give them time. He thinks it's just them killing the messenger. I did not tell them the possibility that my ex was their dad, but they can do math and figure out that they're the same age as my son, and he's younger than the length of the affair. My dad sat them down and explained reasoning for the DNA test was to prove cheating, and not because he was doing to abandon them. He is their dad regardless of whose sperm fertilized the egg. I don't believe that my egg donor and soon-to-be ex waited until he was 18 to have the rappos, but at this point, I'm letting my dad fight that fight and letting him do what he needs to do when dealing with her and their divorce. I have contingency plans ready to enact in the event they decide to move in together. But my lawyer doesn't believe that my ex is stupid enough to do that with the divorce proceedings turning ugly. I forgot to add this in earlier. My husband is 4 months younger than me. My birthday is in December and his is April. He will be 40 soon. We were in the same graduating class all through school from kindergarten through high school. He's not a full year younger than me as others have speculated. I'm focusing on my pregnancy, my kids, and moving on. I may provide an update after divorces are finalized, but thanks to everyone for their support and advice. Thanks for letting this hormonal, sad, rage, bitter woman vent out and get this off her chest. And now let's get to the second story of the day. I, 37 male, ruined my girlfriend's, 32 female, birthday. I don't know how much background I need to give here, but I'll say that we've been dating for almost a year, which was an exceptionally rough year for her. And despite all that time, I couldn't think of what to get her for Christmas or her birthday, which was last week. Each of these events became a fight about how I don't know her because I don't care about her feelings and I'm not putting any energy into the relationship and I need to be better. I don't disagree with any of this. I haven't been putting my energy into the relationship lately. I got complacent, just drifting from obligation to event to night off together. I need to work on listening to her and making her feel special. So I've been scrambling to get her some gifts that are actually good and meaningful and romantic, and I got to see her tonight. The first hour or so was a lecture about all the ways I make excuses or manipulate her, and all the ways I don't put in the effort and don't have her feelings first and just kind of show up and do the minimum. And I agreed. I haven't been treating her the way she deserves and I'm trying to be better. I eventually get her the gifts, and the first few were actually well received and the card was sweet. But the last gift was a relatively expensive ring that wasn't her taste at all, and it completely soured the experience. She says I still don't know her, therefore I don't care about her. To be fair, that ring was one of the first things I picked out and I wasn't sure about it. She says she wants space and doesn't know if she wants to be with me. I don't know what to do. She tells me to watch any romance movie, but I told her that those guys are terrible examples. What does fighting for her in a healthy way actually look like? I know what I need to do going forward to keep the relationship alive, but I don't know CPR. Original poster posted an update that got removed, but quickly recovered by me, stating, I had my doctor's appointment today to ask about attention and memory issues. He starts asking me about depression. He handed me one of those surveys. How many times in the last 2 weeks have you experienced it? And I almost teared up when he handed it to me. He called my score impressive. He prescribed generic Lexapro, recommended therapy, and wants to see me again in a month. She had me over that night to talk. This meant a lengthy lecture listing every red flag I ever showed her, starting with saying I love you in the first month. I tried to talk about how I was seeking health and trying to be better, and she's like, do you need me to just say it? I don't want to be with you. Yeah, I did. Handing back my stuff was pretty amicable beyond being punctuated by bouts of sloppy crying. We had that world-just-ended candor that made for excellent dark comedy. And yes, she agreed that the rappos we were having were incredible. We used to joke that if we ever broke up, she would want duck visitation rights. We'll find out how serious she was in the coming months. Now I'm sitting in my crappy IKEA futon, drinking freaking Bud Light seltzer lemonade, while I wait for the edible to kick in, vaguely listening to Markiplier and Jacksepticeye playing some weird 2D space game. I just deleted all the lewd pictures she sent to me. I'm probably going to fall asleep in a bad position for my neck with the lights on and wake up in 4 hours sober as a cleric. Too long didn't read. She dumped me. Meet your lover's needs. And this is the end of the video for today. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one. Remember that you are appreciated.